wasting time. I gotta get started. Progress, growth, and effort. These three words have defined the development of mankind since we invented the wheel. And over the centuries, the millennia, those ideas have shifted and changed into different concepts. In modern times, the word I would use is hustle. Everybody hustles in their daily life. You got hustle and bustle. In fact, the word hustle has worked its way into a multitude of forms in pop culture. Think about it. You hear it in music even. A hard day's night. Working for the weekend. Hustle hard if you like rap. That's a song by Ace Hood, who probably none of y'all know.
9 to 5.
9 to 5. All these songs are focused on work and effort and progress and growth. But what happens when we hustle a little too hard? What if we have too many hard days in a night? Fellow Toastmasters, there's another concept that's come up in recent years, the concept of burnout. Come with me, and let's take a brief dive into the concept of burnout. I'll explain to you some different forms that it can take, as well as some remedies to help relieve yourself of the symptoms of burnout. Primarily, it can take the shape of physical, mental, or emotional burnout. And all of those manifest themselves in different ways in the body. Physical burnout could be the result of any strenuous activity. Maybe you had a really hard day at the gym. You hit a couple PRs, you're doing some squats, you're doing some deadlifts. Your legs feel like jelly. Maybe you're running around Disneyland with your family. Maybe you're standing in line and you just feel that drain on your arms, your legs. What do? You rest. You take a nap. You don't do those things for a few days. And you're generally going to be good as new. You may also have a nice hearty meal, give yourself some extra energy. But physical burnout is probably the easiest to deal with. Mental and emotional burnout, on the other hand, are much more difficult to mitigate because you often can't immediately recognize the symptoms of mental or emotional burnout. For example, during the height of the quarantine back in 2020, I was living in an Airbnb with a bunch of strangers. It was 6 of us in a house with the owner. I did the same thing every day. Wake up, get out of bed, go downstairs, get on my computer, stare at the computer 8, 9, 10 hours. I did this for 6 months. No office, no social life, everything was closed. Over time, I began to wear out, but my body wasn't worn out. It was my brain that was suffering. And it wasn't until probably the 5th or 6th month of this monotony that I finally realized, oh God, I can't do this anymore. I was drained completely. I wasn't going to the gym. My body was suffering a little bit, but I found myself effectively zombified. I was staring at the computer, but I wasn't retaining any of the information. I felt my eyes droop at the end of the workday. I just couldn't go on. But I had no outlet to relieve the stress of this type of lifestyle. Nowadays, everything's relatively back to normal. And we have the opportunity to get out, go to the office. I work in an office job. I'm a civil engineer. So I go to my office 3 days a week, and I have kind of the luxury of separating my work life and personal life. So even though I still find myself drooping at the end of the day, as soon as I get in the car, I feel better. No more mental burnout. a lot of ways that people heal themselves from mental burnout is just by practicing the simple act of self-care. You take a bath, maybe a nice bubble bath. You light a few candles, you play some relaxing music. Nowadays they have, what do they call it? Sound therapy, different tones that just kind of drone in the back of your ear, in the back of your mind, and they're supposed to provide some sort of healing effect on your brain. I can't speak to that too much. I'm more of a rap guy. Not exactly the most relaxing form of music. But see, the candles, for example, very soothing. You get a nice smell, some lavender, rosemary, cookie butter. They got all sorts of candle scents out there nowadays. But the act of self-care can really help rejuvenate your mind and your body as well. Some people choose to go to the spa. I've never been to a spa, but I've always wanted to just throw a robe on and put a couple of cucumber slices over my eyes and just lay back and forget about the struggles of the world. Maybe one day. The final type of burnout is emotional burnout. Again, not instantly recognizable because it's something that builds up over time. The best example I could think of is a bad relationship. Now, I hope none of us are in a bad relationship. I certainly am not in a bad relationship. I love my girlfriend very much. But I've seen what can happen to some people when they're also stuck in the monotony of a bad relationship. They too experience that same zombification. They don't think. They just wake up, go through the day, basically on autopilot. But they're not really getting any fulfillment out of their life or their relationship. Unfortunately, when it comes to these types of situations, it's much more difficult to pull yourself out of the burnout phase because you might get used to it. You grow accustomed to the idea that what you're experiencing, the negative emotions that you feel, these are all normalized when you're burned out in a bad relationship. Now, unlike the typical mental burnout where you could just go to the spa, throw some cucumbers on your eyes, and forget about the troubles, those issues follow you when you're dealing with emotional burnout. The best remedy I could think of is take a vacation. Literally take yourself physically out of the situation you're in, go somewhere else, and have a complete mental reset. Go to Hawaii. Swim with turtles or dolphins. Snorkel a little bit. I'm a certified scuba diver, and I can certainly vouch that spending some time underneath the waves is 100% a great way to heal yourself. Fellow Toastmasters, I want to leave you with these ideas and hope that you too, if you feel like you're approaching the burnout phase of life, your career, job, relationships, whatever, take some time for yourself. Don't get burned.